This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous good-looking friends. Today, we have to talk about the sheer, unmitigated audacity currently on display in Eastern Europe. A few hours ago, Prince Harry, the man who spent the last 6 years trashing his family for privacy and going after American civil liberties, has just touched down in Kiev. And he didn't just show up to shake hands. He stood at the Kiev Security Forum and delivered what can only be described as a faux regal manifesto, from lecturing American presidents to acting like a shadow Foreign Office envoy. The Duke of Sussex is playing a very dangerous game. Not only was this speech just cringeworthy, it's a strategic headache for the UK that's gonna sorely backfire because I got this guy figured out. The palace just slapped everybody in the face, and this is a blatant attempt to hijack the global narrative just days before King Charles touches down in Washington, D.C., all approved and backed by the UK government. Stick with me throughout this video so you can see what I've uncovered to make this bold assertion. Let's go ahead and dissect Harry's Kiev security speech that opens demands to the United States, the blatant shadow diplomacy, and the good cop, bad cop routine being played by the palace and the UK government. Let's go ahead and get into this. So, kicking off, let's look at the clip where Harry starts by saying, "I'm not here as a politician."
I am not here as a politician. I am here as a soldier who understands service, as a humanitarian who has seen the human cost of conflict, and as a friend of Ukraine who believes the world must not grow used to this war or numb to its consequences.
Okay, Harry. Then why are you standing at a security forum using the language of a head of state? He isn't there as a soldier. Harry is there to be a brand for the United Kingdom. If you notice, the British flag is prominently displayed there.
Because what is happening here is not simply a war about territory. It is a war about values, about sovereignty, about whether the principles that underpin our shared democracy shall hold meaning.
Every time that Harry goes to do these speeches, whether it be with Invictus, whether it be for Ukraine, it includes these 10 words with emphasizing on democracies. Democracy, now these days, don't mean what we used to think it does mean. These words that Harry and Meghan use have been damaged because they have been pushing socialism under the guise of democracy.
Because Ukraine has chosen a path grounded in freedom, in dignity, and democratic values, even in the midst of war.
How can you say that when Zelensky refuses to hold elections, Zelensky controls the media, and Zelensky does not support freedom of speech? What kind of democracy is that? Again, we go back to Harry and Meghan destroying this word democracy. In fact, all of these globalists destroying the word democracy. It's so warped now to get people to see democracy now as socialism. The most inflammatory part, though, to this speech, especially for Americans, is Harry's open demand to the United States and, by extension, Donald Trump. Harry specifically calls out the Budapest Memorandum, reminding America of its treaty obligations.
The United States has a singular role in this story, not only because of its power, but because when Ukraine gave up nuclear weapons, America was part of the assurance that Ukraine's sovereignty and borders would be respected. This is a moment for American leadership, a moment for America to show that it can honor its international treaty obligations, not out of charity, but out of its own enduring role in global security and strategic stability.
Translation? Harry's publicly shaming the current U.S. administration and the presumptive GOP platform on the world stage. Can you believe this shit? A British prince who claims he's fled the burden of public service is now trying to dictate U.S. foreign policy. Like if you're in the State Department or the West Wing right now, you aren't thinking, oh, wow, this helps our relationship so much. You're thinking, who let this guy have a microphone? I'll tell you who that is. It's the UK government, backed by the Crown. Did you guys know that the UK has a policy called the Soft Power Council? Yes, that was created last year in early 2025 to specifically use the royals to boost UK influence. This is not a theory, guys. This is a confirmed policy. So now it makes sense as to why Harry keeps popping up in Ukraine. This is the soft power influence that they're trying to leverage. And it's in this policy specifically laid out how they use soft power. The UK Soft Power Council is a new body aimed at expanding Britain's global influence, leveraging assets, including the royal family, to support diplomatic objectives in a volatile world, including backing for Ukraine. Senior Labour Minister Lisa Nandy, formerly Republican, cited the council's work and the royal family's role in global influence as reasons for changing her mind on supporting the monarchy. Like, I find this beyond gross now, because what this body is set up to do is to ensure that soft power is being leveraged so the UK can have whatever advantage. When you look at the situation with Donald Trump and having that second state visit, that wasn't because the royal family values Donald Trump or even America. It's because this body told the royal family they had to do it. Not because they wanted to, but because Labour Party is in a shit position. It says here from the report, the monarchy could be a powerful tool in improving relations with the United States President Donald Trump, who is particularly fond of the royal family and King Charles III. And this is the part that I find gross. You're referring to the royal family as a tool to manipulate our president. So now that you understand that a whole body has been created to focus on soft power and using the royals, let's talk about the optics of Harry being in Ukraine now. Harry's walking through a war zone, acting as if he's back on payroll. And you notice something? For a man who has spent years in court suing the UK government because he claims it's too dangerous for him to visit London without high-level state security, he seems remarkably comfortable in Kiev. You know, Harry cries about needing SAS-level protection to go to a charity event in the UK, but he can hop on an overnight train to a city under drone bombardment? Like, these people are taking us all for fools. And this is why people are livid, because it exposes the quote-unquote security fear as a convenient legal lever, so you can get 24/7 protection all over the world, including in the United States. People online are saying that Harry's using Invictus games and the Halo Trust as a human shield against criticism or scrutiny of the crown. If you call this out, Harry's paid trolls clap back and say, he's supporting veterans. No, he's using veterans to provide the quote-unquote soft power optics of a royal engagement without any of the constitutional oversight or backlash from the public, because these people have been lying. Now, who do you think is paying for this? Invictus provides the perfect cover. But notice how Harry's visit aligns perfectly with the UK's £4.5 billion support package for Ukraine. Is it possible that Invictus is the front for a UK government back channel? If you want to exert influence without the imperialism baggage, you send a prince under the guise of, quote-unquote, humanitarian aid. It's the ultimate human shield, costing the taxpayer for political maneuvering, even though he's not a politician. When you look at my back channel theory, Harry's hiding behind Invictus because we're seeing him do this more and more. If you notice, Harry's wearing his Invictus jacket. Keep in mind, he and Meghan didn't wear anything that said Invictus when they were out in Australia. The UK gets to exert soft power in Ukraine through a royal face while officially keeping their hands clean. Like, I wonder how much Harry got paid from the UK taxpayer to do this ridiculous speech. Now, surely there are some of you out there saying, well, why would the king be backing something this disastrous right before he's supposed to come to the United States? Because this is the clearest case of playing good cop, bad cop. Understand that the king's role here is to play the special relationship card with the pomp, pageantry, and let's be friends vibe. Because the UK government is terrified right now that Trump is going to pull out of NATO and pull the plug on funding for Ukraine. So what do? They send this dipshit Harry to first lay down the challenge. And then they send Charles in to look like the statesman while his son did the dirty work of aggressive lobbying. The benefit to Starmer here, because he's so unpopular and so disliked, he needs this distraction. What better way to distract from domestic failure than a royal hero moment on the front line of democracy? So understand that the reason why the palace is allowing this is because Harry is still a prince of the blood. He is still a counselor of state, and when he stands in Kiev and says the world must act, it carries the weight of the British monarchy, whether he's working or quote unquote not, which in this case, he most definitely is working, and we're being lied to. The anger that we're seeing online, including my own, is reaching a boiling point. People are asking, why is he still representing the crown after 6 years of trashing it? The answer is simple. The palace thinks you're stupid. They believe as long as the controlled media in the UK paints him as a soldier prince, the public is not going to notice the massive constitutional breach. They're betting that the propaganda will drown out the reality that Harry is being used in this operation. Just as Harry covertly did during the Biden years of interfering with our election and censoring Americans. You don't think that there is an agenda that the UK government had sent this idiot here to do? I hope people are starting to wake up to the fact that Megxit is a lie. It was a complete lie. And now the UK is trying to figure out how to bring this guy back without it being so obvious that they sent him here in the first place to do what he was doing. If you notice, all roads lead back to the UK when it comes to the Russia hoax, to our election and interference, to the censorship complex, and most of all, the corrupted NGO network that even the royals are a part of. The Royal Foundation, as well as Archwell Fugazi Public Charity, are set up exactly the same way. If you don't believe me, go to Data Republican and map it out under the name of the American Friends of the Royal Foundation, and you'll see how many millions of dollars gets transferred from the United States over to the UK. And you'll start to understand how this was all about redistributing the middle-class wealth being funneled overseas to line the pockets of the Epstein class and the pedophile aristocratic elite hanging out in Davos and Brussels. Yeah, they're mad that we don't want to do that anymore, especially funding a war in Ukraine where we know that it's nothing but a big laundry machine. So, Harry being there on behalf of the UK government right now doesn't look so good, especially knowing that there is this program to use the royals in this soft power influence because it's policy. So what is the geopolitical price to this little stunt that Harry's pulled? Is it strategic? Maybe for the UK's short-term influence, but for the US-UK relationship? Oh no, this is a grenade. When Trump sits down with Charles in a few days, do you think he's forgotten that the king's son just stood in a war zone and questioned America's honor, let alone been involved with the 2020 election and censoring Americans? Oh, hell no. No. Harry isn't building bridges. He's a wrecking ball. And while the UK government and the palace think the public are stupid as long as they control the media, this has gone down like a lead balloon here in the United States because we have this thing called freedom of speech, and voices like mine get to speak out on the actual reality here. You have a program that's specifically crafted to use the royal family to influence soft power, right? To influence, manipulate our president. I sure hope that Donald Trump and his people fully understand what's going on here. Now, after today, the relationship with the US and UK is so broken and so fractured that the only way it can be saved is if Queen Elizabeth herself comes back from the dead. Otherwise, King Charles's visit here is not going to make a difference. At this point, I'm so turned off by what's going on right now that I really wish the king would cancel his trip. I don't want him here in the United States, especially going down to 9/11 and taking advantage of our grief to make him look like a statesman for his own PR, because it's no different to what Harry and Meghan have been doing. And at this point, I'm so tired of hearing people making up excuses for the royal family, saying, oh no, Harry is a grown man, he can do whatever he wants. You see, by failing to strip the titles or issue a firm "this man does not represent us" statement, the palace is effectively letting him cause 6 years of headaches and damage with zero accountability, meaning they are complicit with this. He's representing the crown. Make no mistakes about it. And I think it's unforgivable. What Harry has done here, from 2020 and interfering with the US election and undermining the will of the American people, as well as trying to subvert and undermine our constitutional rights, this could be seen as an act of war. In my eyes, Harry's worse than what Andrew's done. If King Charles thinks his soft power is going to fix everything, well, he better just stay home. But that's just my thoughts and opinions here. What do you guys think? Does this piss you off as much as it pisses me off? Let me know in the comment section. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Because one day soon, this war will end. And history will not ask what we said, it will ask what we did. Who acted? Who stepped forward? And who chose courage over caution? Ukraine has already given its answer. Now is the time for the rest of us to give ours. Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
It was such a fraud.